Ever wondered how the fiercest warriors in medieval Europe went from worshiping Thor to kneeling before Christ? From raiding monasteries to building churches? It wasn't a gentle persuasion. It was politics, power, and sometimes a sword to the throat. And the most shocking part? Some of the bloodiest Christian conversions in history were led by former Viking raiders themselves. This is the story of how the sons of Odin became soldiers of Christ. And trust me, it's messier than you think. Meet Herald Bluetooth. Yes, that's where your wireless connection gets its name. Around 965 AD, this Danish king made a choice that would reshape all of Scandinavia. But Harold's conversion story isn't as simple as most people think. The traditional narrative says Harold converted to avoid military destruction, but the truth is more complex. Medieval chroniclers tell conflicting stories. Some claim he faced pressure from Otto I's Holy Roman Empire, while others describe a miraculous demonstration by a priest named Popo, who supposedly held red-hot iron without being burned. The reality? We may never know which version is true, but what matters is the result. What we do know is that Otto I was indeed supporting Christian missionary efforts in the region, though he hadn't launched the full-scale invasions that some accounts suggest. The pressure was more diplomatic and economic than military, but pressure nonetheless. But here's the twist. Harold's conversion wasn't just about external threats, it was a brilliant power grab. Religious worship, which had previously been controlled by local magnates, was now in the hands of the clergy that Harold could influence. He wasn't just changing gods, he was centralizing power. Local chiefs who controlled pagan temples? Suddenly irrelevant. Harold now controlled the priests, and the priests controlled the people. One conversion. Total political reorganization. That's how you build an empire. But politics wasn't the only factor, though it was primary. Vikings were traders as much as they were warriors, and while trade considerations played a supporting role in some conversions, the economic incentives varied significantly by region and shouldn't be overstated as a main driver. Still, think about it practically. You're a Viking trader trying to do business in Christian Europe. Are they going to trust the pagan who just raided their neighbor's monastery, or the fellow Christian who shares their faith? The answer was obvious. Convert to Christianity, and new doors opened. Not everywhere, but enough to matter. It wasn't always about salvation. Sometimes it was about silver. But mostly it was about survival and opportunity in a changing world. Then came Olaf Tryggvason. Born around 963, this guy wasn't just a convert, he was a fanatic. When he took the Norwegian throne in 995 and was baptized around 994 to 995, he didn't just embrace Christianity personally. He tried to forcibly convert all of Norway to his new faith. Though Olaf had been a pagan Viking raider, by the time he wore the crown, he was a fierce proponent of Christianity, and his reign was pivotal in Norway's transition from paganism to Christianity. But Olaf didn't ask nicely. He routinely used force to compel conversion, including execution and torture of those who refused. The sagas tell us about a man named Raud the Strong who refused to convert. According to the legendary accounts in texts like Heimskringla, though we should note these are literary traditions rather than contemporary historical records, Olaf had a snake forced down the man's throat with a hot poker. Whether this specific incident happened exactly as described, the broader pattern of violent conversion is well documented. This former Viking raider had become more ruthless as a Christian than he ever was as a pagan. The irony was lost on no one. Here's something that's often misunderstood. The relationship between Christian military success and Viking conversion wasn't as straightforward as it might seem. While it's true that Christian leaders like Alfred the Great developed effective strategies against Viking raids, it's an oversimplification to say that battlefield defeats drove religious conversion. Vikings continued successful raids even after major defeats. English kings paid massive amounts of Danegeld well into the 11th century, proving Viking military effectiveness remained formidable. The reality of cultural and religious change was far more complex than simple military outcomes. What did matter was political calculation. Vikings respected strength and success, and Christianity increasingly represented both. But it wasn't just about who won battles, it was about who controlled trade routes, diplomatic networks, and political alliances. Vikings weren't stupid. They saw what Christianity offered to rulers who wanted to consolidate power and forge alliances with the powerful Christian kingdoms to the south. Alliance networks, military support, economic partnerships, legal recognition, diplomatic immunity. Christianity wasn't just a religion, it was a membership card to medieval Europe's most exclusive club. Join Christianity and you're part of the system. Stay pagan and you're forever the outsider looking in. For ambitious Viking leaders, the choice became increasingly obvious. But here's the thing, it wasn't instant. The Christianization of Scandinavia was a slow, uneven process that ran concurrently with the Viking period. Some conversions were clearly political and material calculations, while others appeared genuinely spiritual. Many Vikings hedged their bets. They'd wear a cross and a Thor's hammer. They'd pray to Christ on Sunday and sacrifice to Odin on Wednesday. They'd get baptized but keep their pagan burial customs. It was a religious insurance policy. Cover all your bases and hope somebody upstairs is listening. This wasn't hypocrisy. This was survival. The end came at different times in different places. Norway was largely Christian by around 1030, Iceland officially converted in 1000, while Sweden held out until the early 12th century. The process was gradual and regionally variable, not the sudden transformation that's sometimes portrayed. But by the early 1200s, the last pagan temples were torn down. The last pagan kings were dead or converted. Royal initiative had played a key role in spreading Christianity among the Vikings, leading to mass conversions across Scandinavia. The transformation ran deeper than just changing gods. Christianity brought writing, law codes, centralized government, and international diplomacy. It turned scattered Viking tribes into medieval kingdoms. It turned raiders into rulers. The Vikings didn't just convert to Christianity, they used Christianity to evolve from Iron Age tribal warriors into medieval European powers. It was the ultimate strategic adaptation. So why did Vikings convert to Christianity? Politics, economics, military necessity, social pressure, strategic advantage, and yes, sometimes genuine faith. But mostly, it was the smart play. Christianity offered everything paganism couldn't in the changing medieval world: international legitimacy, economic opportunity, political stability, and military alliances. For a culture that valued practical results above abstract ideals, the choice became clear. The Vikings didn't abandon their warrior culture. They weaponized Christianity, and in doing so they transformed not just themselves, but the entire medieval world. The gods of Valhalla promised a glorious death. The God of Christianity promised a prosperous life, and more importantly, political survival in a Christian world. For Vikings, that was an offer they couldn't refuse.